The February road ahead finally dropped about 60 seconds before I went online for my stream yesterday. We did cover it in the stream, but I want to have a separate video here where we can all discuss now that we've had some time to let this information disseminate in our brains for a couple of hours. Let's have a chat, shall we, gents? And ladies too. So this road ahead, I want to say, has to be one of the better road aheads that CG's put out in a long, long time. This actually makes me feel a lot better about the game in general, but there's one slight little problem that is troubling me just a little bit, but I am going to reserve full judgment until we see how this raid goes. Let's take a look then. So the big things that we're getting is a bonus Mandalore planet zone in TB. Hey, we had this down in our video at the start of the year, predicting what will come for this year. Nailed it. Gungan Faction, absolutely 100% we're getting Jar Jar Binks. Galactic Republic Faction is getting some additional loving. Queen Amidala, another thing that we had planned in our first video of the year. Guild Gifting, this came out of complete left field. No idea that this was a thing planned. I kind of like this in concept. This is really, really cool. Jar Jar Binks, legendary character, coming to the game, and a brand new raid, Battle for Naboo. My phone is going off again. I apologize. I'm just far too popular for my own good. Sorry about that, gents of the tribe. Anyway, we also did predict Battle for Naboo as being the next raid. This is the real sticking point for me. Alright, so let's go ahead then. New bonus zone. What do we know about the new bonus zone? It is going to be Mandalore, the planet of the Mandalorians, obviously. I mean, cool. We said this at the start of the year. I think this has been on the table, sort of on the board for most people as the future bonus planet. We had Zepho, obviously, for Cal Kestis last year. We're getting Mandalore for this year. All we know so far is that we're going to obviously be using light side Mandalorians for it. So new Bo, probably going to be using Paz, probably going to be using Bam, probably going to be using, well, we know we're going to be using Sabine, but it also states that we are also going to be using Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. So think Imperial Remnants. I imagine Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, Gar Saxon, I imagine ISC, I imagine any of those sort of people, probably Stormtroopers, all that sort of business, 100% will be required for at least a combat mission, maybe a special mission on the planet of Mandalore, probably facing off in a battle against Paz or in a battle against Bo-Katan Mandalore. So for the 3,000 or so people that have unlocked her, this is the way, basically. This is the way. So make sure you be working on that Bo-Katan Mandalore event. Get your Dark Trooper Moff Gideon geared up, because this planet is coming, and if we know anything about Zepho, and if the same thing is going to apply to the new planet of Mandalore, you're going to absolutely want to do it, because the rewards really are worth it. Now, personally, I am hoping that we get some sort of additional character unlock here. I know I said this about Zepho when Zepho came out a year ago, but they didn't do it then. I really do hope that this year they do. Either we get some sort of blueprints for a new ship that comes to the game, maybe some sort of Mandalorian ship, that would be kind of cool, or even the weird alien that Bo-Katan defeats and rescues Din Djarin from in Season 3 of Mandalorian. Use that as a sort of new Wampa type character, perhaps a soloing character for Territory Wars or GAC with an Omicron. That sort of thing would be cool, just a little bit of icing on the cake, as it were. Super excited to see it. We are actually getting some sort of Rebels synergy there, so maybe we'll see something from the Phoenix faction being there, which is great, because Phoenix is such a good faction now, and they're used throughout TB as well at this point. So we do have to use Sabine as well on this planet, apparently. You know, we're seeing Bo-Katan Mandalore, Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, Sabine Wren. All very good things to be excited for. This is where I'm a little bit disappointed. I will be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe. I did predict that Battle for Naboo would be the raid. However, in my mind, I envisaged this multifaceted raid event where we start off in the fields on Naboo, we fight off against the Trade Federation army, and then we go on an assault battle and we attack Theed, trying to get into the city centre, before culminating in a battle against Maul in that sort of Duel of the Fates episode section of the first film, right? That, to me, I had my heart set on that as being the raid, and it feels like it's cool. But my problem here is this part here. We will be participating in the Battle for Naboo against waves of battle droids with no end in sight. Now, I don't want to jump the gun here. But this feels like it's going to fall into the same trap that the speeder bike raid falls into, where the entire raid is just us facing off against nameless enemies, wave after wave after wave, that only ends if you hit the max score. There's no hype, there's no payout. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe we'll fight off against an AAT, maybe we'll fight off against something really particularly cool in this battle. But if it's just really cool cinematics of, hey, look, this is the start of the battle for Naboo, you know, we see all the B-1s getting unloaded from their ships, we see all that sort of business, and it's like, here's all the big shields from the Gungans. Awesome, cool stuff. But once that shine is off the apple, if the gameplay is still just facing off against waves and waves of droids, not any big boss, then I can't help but feel like this will be disappointing. Now, maybe we are not going to have all of our abilities stripped back and the bonuses changed like we do in the Speeder Bike Raid, and that will be, you know, somewhat better so we can actually use the synergy of those characters as they're meant to be used, but my first instinct is to be just a little bit disappointed with how this is at this stage. Now, I am more than happy to change my opinion on this when we see a little bit more information about this raid, but as it stands right now, I'm just a little disappointed. All we can say apart from that, though, is that it should be arriving around summertime. I'm provisionally thinking sort of June, July period. That sort of makes sense to me. It gives them time, because we now know that in previous years where we had Jabba for the Crate Raid and we had Leia for the Speeder Bike Raid, we instead have the Gungan faction and Jar Jar Binks as the new featured faction for this raid. They didn't use a featured faction last time, it was more of a featured GL per se. And it's going to take them a little bit of time to release those marquees and get that legendary out. What are we getting for the Naboo faction then? So, the Naboo faction is going to be, obviously, not Naboo faction, sorry, the Gungan faction. We are getting 5 Gungans in total. 4 of them are going to be required to unlock a legendary Jar Jar Binks. We're getting Boss Nass. This makes absolutely no surprise to me. Of course, we're going to have the motorboating giant Fishman, Boss Nass, motorboating his way onto the fields. We're getting Captain Tarples, who obviously was a general under the Gungan army, and then we're going to get 2 sort of generic type Gungans, a Bombardier and a Phalanx unit, which, you know, one's an attacker, one's a tank, and then we've got Jar Jar Binks, who is a standard legendary character in the vein of like Jedi Knight Luke and in the vein of Jedi Knight Cal and that sort of thing. He is a Gungan support character that is going to be pivotal in this new raid and will probably have some sort of combat mission as well introduced, or special mission introduced into one of the planets in TB. I can pretty much guarantee you that. So apart from that, it's going to take them about 4 months to release all of this and get it ready. Just in general, we're in February now, halfway through February. If we have a faction, a marquee character come out for Boss Nass, Tarples, Bombardier, Phalanx, exactly, like every 2 weeks going forward, that's still going to take us another 2 months before that even happens, and then there'll be a little bit of time before the end of these marquees kick in where Jar Jar Binks' event will come live, and that will probably tie in to the release of this new raid. So anybody that really wants to hit the ground running with this new raid, be ready to farm these characters immediately. It's a bit of a tall ask to get 4 brand new characters. They're probably going to be required at Relic 7. We might have it more like Jedi Knight Cal, where it's actually Gear 12 to unlock, but then you'll probably want them Relic 7 for the Planet event. I don't know. We're all just speculating at this point, but I'm trying to put you guys in the best position you can be for when this new raid launches. What else can we expect for this new raid? Essentially, there's going to be a number of factions, just like how in previous raids we'd had stuff like, you know, for the Speeder Bike Raid, you had Rebels, and you had Imperial Troopers, and you had Ewoks and stuff like that. The same sort of thing is going to be happening for this new Battle for Naboo raid. We know that we're going to be having, where is it? I believe it's Galactic Republic. Jar Jar Binks is, of course, going to be the featured character, so if you get him, you can expect to get max scores at this point. I don't know if they're going to be having raid armies in that team. I don't know how that's going to translate. We know too little about this new raid at this point in time, but generally speaking, the featured faction is the one you really want to push for. So, Gungans first of all. We're also then going to be getting the likes of Galactic Republic characters over here. This ties into another Conquest unit that we're getting in the game this year. The next, well, we don't know if it's the next Conquest character, but I'm assuming it will be, which is going to be Queen Amidala. Amazing. Again, that times out to be about right for this new raid. So if you think about it, we've got essentially 2 and a bit weeks right now until the end of this round of Conquest, which will give us Darth Bane, those of you that have been red boxing. Then it's going to be a new Conquest unit It can't be a coincidence that they say Queen Amidala is going to be a future Conquest unit. She's a light side character that we know we're getting. Times out with the raid. She's going to be used in the raid. Probably next Conquest unit will be Queen Amidala. Now, they have also stated we should expect 1 or 2 additional new Galactic Republic units as well to go alongside her. I'm immediately thinking characters like Captain Panaka, maybe Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi as well. And that brings us on to another faction that we will be using in this particular raid. That's going to be Jedi, so expect it to be Galactic Republic Jedi. Most likely going to be lesser used Jedi characters. I'm thinking immediately Qui-Gon Jinn, without a shadow of a doubt, will be used in this. He features heavily in the Phantom Menace, heavily in the Battle for Naboo, so guarantee him. If we get a Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, the Padawan version of him, 100% he is going to be required. And then it's probably going to be sort of the Jedi Council characters that nobody uses. Characters like Eth Koth and I'm a Gundai and Jedi Knight Guardian and people like that. Consular. You know, the ones that are undergeared and underdeveloped, that's where CG is most likely going to try and shift our focus to, because they're just not widely used. And they want to try and get some investment out of us. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The raids are phenomenally good at rewarding players for investing in. So get ready to gear up that Jedi Council. I'm not suggesting anybody right now, but that's probably how it's going to go. Final faction is Separatist, which should come as no surprise to anybody. That is, you know, the Trade Federation is almost synonymous with the Separatist faction as far as this game is concerned. So expect to be using things like Stap. Expect to be using things like Newt Gunray, because he's a prominent factor in the Trade Federation. B2, Droidica, all of these units, I imagine, will get used in that. Whether we get to see characters like Sidious, whether we get to see characters like GG, don't know at this point. We might even be getting additional Separatist marquees in the near future that are going to tie into this raid. It's all up in the air, but on the whole, pretty good squads to be using, pretty good characters to be upgrading, and a lot to be excited about in general. So that brings us on to Queen Amidala and the new Galactic Republic characters. I love that we're getting more than one. So she's going to be a future Conquest chase character, as well as accompanied by 2 new characters for the Galactic Republic faction. Again, I have to feel like this is going to be Captain Panaka, who is her personal bodyguard, and then most likely Jedi Obi-Wan, you know. Potentially we could get someone else. Obviously we could get someone else, but that's my immediate thinking about where this is going to go. Maybe we'll get one of her handmaidens, but the fact that her kit actually states that she summons a handmaiden that's going to protect her, that tells me that we're probably not going to get a separate handmaiden for Queen Amidala, as she'll just be the summoned unit. They have confirmed that her Omicrons are going to be GAC based, so I can almost guarantee you that Queen Amidala is going to be a triple Omicron character. They usually are for Conquest units. Obviously, the ships don't have Omicrons just yet. Oh, dear Lord. Don't let that be the future. GAC is my favorite game mode. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm happy that she's a GAC unit. Give me more units for Queen Amidala. Give me more usability for that, and I will be a happy chappy. She does have a decoy mechanic, which sort of is completely thematic with how her character is at the start. She, you know, hides herself under her hide maidens, as it were, during the film to protect her life. So the fact that they've brought that into the game, it's probably going to have some sort of sacrifice mechanic involved. They're a little bit hazy about it, but all they are saying is that she gains a buff called Queen's Protection whilst the decoy is alive, and after the decoy is defeated, the Queen takes a bonus turn and gains a new gnarly locked buff and inflicts enemies with something nasty. So it looks like we're probably going to get a new buff for Queen Amidala, as well as a new debuff for the enemy team. It's kind of cool. I can't wait to see it. Queen Amidala is an iconic looking character from the Phantom Menace. Really, really cool. Really excited to see her come to the game. Cannot wait. This brings us on to one of the new features that CG is introducing. This one took me completely off guard. Guild gifting. Essentially, in your guild, you are now, or you will be able, to buy gift packs for other guild members and just give it to them. Now, I know not everybody wails on this game. I know not everybody engages in spending money, and that's completely fine. It is totally a choice, but there are also plenty of players that do spend money on this game, and some people have got more financial means than others. The fact that they've actually introduced this, where there can be a pack in the game and perhaps somebody is close to a legendary unlock and they can't quite make it, but they don't have disposable income. Somebody else, some kind soul in your guild, can now potentially even gift you a pack. This is a really nice idea from CG. I actually quite like this. It makes it easier because there's no other way of doing it, really, outside of transferring money to somebody. And I'm sure that most whales will probably be a little bit more receptive to buying it through the game and having it gifted straight to a guildmate. Really, really cool idea. Really like this one, CG. Good work. Now, this kind of threw me off a bit. When we're looking in the packs here, we can see, look at these old icons. And even down here, at first I thought that this was some new gear piece that was introduced to the game, but it's actually just, I think it's the original art for the finisher pieces that we got back when relic levels were introduced. It's Mark 9, but they're obviously the finishers. They're the wrong color, but I think it's actually just old artwork that they're using, generic artwork that they had, because these are definitely old icons for Lobot, for Mace, for the Jawas that are no longer in the game. So it just goes through the process, how you do it. You find the pack, you choose to gift it, then it gives you all the listed guild members in your chat, you select it, and then you send it off to them and they get it in their inbox. I think it's a really cool idea. Look at these old icons as well. Old icons. It looks really fuzzy, doesn't it? It's quite funny. That's going to about do it for this video, guys. I'm actually super stoked about this update. This road ahead is actually got me interested in the game. I do have my reservations about the Battle for Naboo raid. I'm a little concerned that it's going to land a little flat unless they change a lot of things around how the gameplay evolves as the battle goes on. Let me know what you think about the news. How do you feel about this road ahead? I'd love to hear from you. And make sure you like and subscribe while you're there. It really would do me a massive favor. Helps you support this channel for absolutely free. Till the very next video, guys. Peace out. And may the Force be with you.